Are you looking to buy a Line 6 digital guitar and amp modeler, and the Helix, Floor, or LT are just over budget for you, so you can't decide between the HX Stomp, the HX Stomp XL, the Pod Go, or the new Pod Express? Well, I have the Stomp, the Pod Go, and the Express, and I'm going to tell you my pros and cons for each one and a summary of who I think each device is best suited for. So to start, all three, they have a desktop editor, so that's a plus for me. They all have the HX effects in them, and each one has at least an external FS port, foot switch port, and the Stomp, you can even add an external expression pedal. And all three units I find are good for your own personal practice at home, in your home studio. They're good for band rehearsals, and they're all good to use in a home recording or professional studio recording session, in my opinion. So let's start with the Pod Express. Okay, so what are the pros? Well, it's ultra compact, it's so small, and definitely can fit in a gig bag, so that's a plus for me. Basically, plug it and play. It's a plug and play. It has onboard dials, so you can, with some switching, you can dial different effects or the amp settings, like the treble, the mid, the gain, and whatnot. Now, and it's a low price. It's cheap. All right, so that's a plus as well. So very affordable. The cons I have for it is that because it's so small and compact, there's no menu screen. Not what it was intended for, I know, but to me that makes it less user friendly. They do have an alt button where you can hit some buttons to get to the preset mode or this mode, but this thing is more like an analog pedal, right, with no menu. So you're dialing in things, but they have all these alternating functions. So you really have to do some homework with the manual or watch some videos on the Pod Express to really manually manipulate it. Now, the desktop editor is very easy to create presets with that, but if you're on the gig, you gotta know this pedal in order to switch stuff if something goes wrong, or to cycle through your presets, etc. Okay, so the other there's some other cons, of course. It's limited with effects, and there's only a certain amount of amps and cabs you have. Again, it's not meant to be, a mini Helix in a box, but there are limited effects. So that's a con for me. Might be a pro though for beginners, so you don't have option paralysis. The outputs now, a con maybe, and I don't like calling them cons, it's maybe just, something that I would desire, is that there's only a left and right quarter output. Okay, so there's no sender return, so that you could add an external pedal to it in a loop sense and place it between effects, or you can't do the 4-cable method if that's your bag. And the other con I have is that you can't load IRs. So I'm not a big IR user anyways, because when I make presets for everybody, for all you to download, I make it with the stock cabinets, the IRs in each unit, so that you don't have to go to a third party to buy something, or even if it's a free from a third party site, it's just so you don't have to go through that hassle. But for those who like IRs, you're going to be out of luck with the Pod Express. In summary, I think it is great for beginners who are new to digital modeling, but it's very limited for more experienced users. And for the working musician, well, I think you could use this live, and I am going to do a test with it live at some point, or at least a band rehearsal. But again, because it's not user friendly, you might run into some hassles, or it might take too long to troubleshoot because there is no easy to see menus where you can just really deep dive quickly and hopefully troubleshoot what the issue is. So there's that. Okay, let's move on. Pod Go. Okay, you know that this channel is a big Pod Go proponent, and I love it. So what are the pros? Well, there's many amps and cabs and effects options, They have a cab engine that came out almost a year ago now. It came out November 2023, which is kind of similar to what you would get in a Helix Floor or an HX Stomp. not dual cab, but still an improved cab engine. You can load IRs. It has a built-in expression pedal for those who want everything. If you just want to replace your pedal board, and the Pod Go is, the size of kind of like a small pedal board, has the onboard expression pedal. Some people say they don't like it. I actually do. I think it's easy to switch. I find it sturdy enough. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents on that. It does have an effects loop, a send and return, so you can add your favorite pedal to it, or pedals, or do the 4-cable method. It has another output, amp out, so you can go into your amp while sending a feed to, say, a PA mixer like front of house. Now it has snapshots. Okay, you got 4 snapshots capabilities if that's the kind of switching that you like. I like using it in stomp mode, but that's me. And it has an easy onboard menu to manipulate. So if you on the gig and you need to do something, the menu screen's big enough to see for me, and you can easily manipulate whatever effect parameter you need to adjust. Now the cons, as many people know, there are only 4 assignable blocks for effects. It's a 10-block signal chain, but you can only choose 4. So you are stuck, I guess, for lack of a better term, with the other 6. Now people know they make jailbreak presets and or whatever with the coding. I mean, I don't think it compromises the unit, but I've tried doing those things where you could have all 10 blocks for free, but I always I ran into a trouble with an error message coming up, something not working. Anyways, if you're not going to try these JSON file codes or whatever they call it, and you're just sticking with what you have, well, you're only going to get 4 blocks to choose. So my next con is that it's not a compact. It's not compact like the Stomp or the Pod Express. It won't fit in a gig bag. You might get it in for a tight squeeze, but that's all you're going to get in that gig bag pocket. So, if you like to carry a pedal board around in a case, this is what you're going to have with the Pod Go. So another con I have is the amp. Now the amp out. Now, what the problem I have is that, say I have a preset, and I have the signal flow the way I want it. The pedals all in order. The amp head obviously before the cabinet. That's going to front of house. Well, you can also simultaneously send that to your amp, but the problem is, you're either going to get everything that's going to the main out, so that includes amp and cab, which to me doesn't sound good going into your amplifier if that's what your setup is. But you can also switch it to pre-cab IR, which means that all the effects before that block are going to go to your amp, but that means that your amp block is also going to go to your real amp, and you might luck out and get a pleasing sound. But if you do not want the amp and cab, if you only want amp and cab going to front of house and just your effects going to the Pod Go, you're going to have to be super creative somehow. I have done a preset a while ago to kind of circumvent this, but it's still not the greatest solution. So, line 6, if you could just change that to, instead of pre-cab IR, make it pre-amp, that would solve a lot of problems to me. Well, sonically for me. Maybe there's somebody who agree. And then the other con I have is, not really a major con, but the Pod Go has gone up in price, and rightly so. It's a great unit. And I mean, I got mine. Oh, geez, it's definitely, I didn't get it for the price it is now. It's probably gone up about $150 or so since when I bought it in the summer of 2021. So not as cheap as the Pod Express, but you're not looking at paying, couple $1,000s, and I'm talking Canadian money here, guys, for like the Helix floor. All right, in summary, I think it's a great unit for intermediate and definitely experienced people with digital modelers, and it's more than worthy to use in your studio work or on your live work for stage or gigs, bar gigs or theater stage shows. And I have a video, again, which I took the Pod Go with a Bob Seger tribute. Took it to somewhere in Greensburg, Pennsylvania in the summer of 2023. Used the Pod Go and effects only. Use it with tube amp. Worked just like a charm, and it covered everything I needed. Anyway, so there you go. Really, really good unit. So now, finally, let's go to the hxstomp, which I am just falling in love with lately. There is a lot you can do with it that many other videos on YouTube will tell you all about it. I'm just going to give you a summary because I have limited use with it, but oh baby, It's becoming my favorite. So the pros, well, it's ultra compact. Just, it's bigger than the Pod Express, but not by a lot. So this can definitely fit in a gig bag. You have more amp and amp cab effects options than the Pod Go. And I mean, you can get like poly pitch shifting, and it's a more powerful processor than the other two. You can load IRs, of course, and hxstomp has MIDI. You can have some MIDI controller capabilities there. It also has the return aux in on one side, so that you can add those pedals or do the 4-cable method. What I really like is the dual amp capability in the amp or the cab. It's the dual cabinet capability that you can have in the cab engine, because you can have a nice stereo setup. You can have two different cabinets going on. Hey, you can put two different amps in your signal chain, and that's another beauty, is that it's not a fixed signal chain. It's a blank slate. Not like the other two, where you have basically Pod Express is fixed. Pod Go, you can bugger around with 4 of them. With the hxstomp, you can put whatever 8 blocks you want, right? So so that is nice. And the other thing I like is that you can create dual signal paths. All right, so this is definitely where you can have some effects going right into your amp, and then you can do a separate signal path, either sending it to a main out or to the send, and that can go to front of house, which will capture your effects. And then it also, on the dual signal path, you will capture your amp and cabinet or amp cab combo, because you can have a block to combine both, and if you want to add anything else to go to front of house. So perfect. This is perfect, and it has an easy onboard menu as well. Now the cons, going back to that menu, now the screen is very small to see on the hxstomp, so you kind of really need to know, if your vision's great, fantastic, you have eagle eyes, you can see it from the floor. I would need glasses, and I don't want to wear my glasses when I'm playing, because I really only need them for distance. So it kind of, things get blurry if I'm playing and wearing glasses, blurry up here. But so anyways, but if you know the unit, and you have the color coding for your buttons, you're okay. The other con I would have is, well, it's high priced. I mean, we're hovering up in Canada here at our big music chain, Long and McQuaid. I think it's just under $1,000 new. So you go on Reverb and try and grab one used. Definitely worth the price if you can get one for a couple $100 less, and even used is still great. So that's my cons for it. But yeah, overall, wow, man. And that'll lead me to my summary, that I think the hxstomp is great for working musicians who are experienced in the digital modeling world, and those who want a compact rig that you could take in a carry-on bag for a fly day, or you need to do some studio work. Well, boom, this thing will cover it all, and it can definitely handle any gig situation that you need. Because of the capability as well, not only to add an external foot switches, you could add 2, or you could add a foot switch and an expression pedal. So it gives you all kinds of stuff. So I would definitely recommend this for any live stage bar gig work, for sure. If you like the video, please hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll just say farewell right now. We'll catch you in the next video.